Before we begin, take a second to subscribe. These stories are real. They're dark. And they deserve to be told. Number 1. Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy wasn't always Ted Bundy. He was born in 1946 as Theodore Robert Cowell in Burlington, Vermont. His mother was young and unmarried. That was a big problem back then. So, Ted was told that his grandparents were his parents and his mother was his sister. That lie followed him for years. And maybe it planted something dark inside him. As a boy, Ted was quiet, smart, and liked to be alone. He didn't have many friends. Some people said he liked to watch people suffer, even when he was just a kid. One story said he put knives around his aunt while she was sleeping just to watch her wake up scared. Creepy? Very. As Ted got older, he seemed normal. He went to college. He wore nice clothes. He looked sharp. But something was off. Ted liked to watch people. He would stare at women for hours. He followed them. Listened. Learned their habits. It was like he was preparing for something. He studied psychology, but not to help others. He wanted to learn how to manipulate people. He practiced how to act normal. He studied how to fake a smile. He became very, very good at pretending. In college, Ted fell in love. Her name was Stephanie Brooks. She was rich, elegant, confident. Everything Ted wasn't. They dated. But then she broke up with him. She told him he didn't have goals. He wasn't serious. That breakup crushed him. And that's when something inside Ted changed. He made a plan. He worked harder. Got accepted into law school. He dressed better. Got his act together. Then, he went back to Stephanie and won her back. But it was all fake. As soon as she fell for him again, he dumped her. Just like that. No warning. No goodbye. He wanted her to feel the same pain he had felt. And not long after that, women started disappearing. It started in Washington State in 1974. Women were going missing from parks, college campuses, and quiet streets. They were all young, white, with long brown hair parted in the middle. Just like Stephanie. Police were confused. There were no fingerprints. No screams. No bodies. It was like the girls just vanished. But then, witnesses came forward. They remembered seeing a man. In a cast. Or on crutches. Asking for help. He said his name was Ted. He asked women to help him carry books to his car. Or lift something heavy. And when they leaned into his car to help him, he hit them over the head. Dragged them inside. And drove away. In just a few months, 6 women had gone missing. Then 2 more disappeared on the same day. From the same park. This time, people remembered more. A man. A brown Volkswagen Bug. And the name. Ted. Finally, police had something. But Ted wasn't just hiding in Washington. He had already moved to Utah. And the killings didn't stop. In Utah, he pretended to be a cop to lure girls. One girl escaped and went straight to the police. They checked her story. And guess what? The man she described looked just like Ted Bundy. In 1975, police pulled over a suspicious Volkswagen Bug. Inside, they found a ski mask, a crowbar, handcuffs, rope, a trash bag, and a pair of gloves. That wasn't normal. That wasn't a car kit. That was a murder kit. The man behind the wheel? Ted Bundy. They arrested him. And finally, the mask started to fall. But Ted wasn't done. While awaiting trial, he escaped. He jumped from a library window and ran into the woods. he was free for 6 days. They caught him. But he escaped again, this time from a jail cell. He lost weight to squeeze through a hole in the ceiling. No one knew where he went. But soon, they'd find out. In Florida, Ted killed again. He entered a college sorority house in the middle of the night. In just 15 minutes, he attacked 4 women. 2 of them died. Then he attacked another woman just down the street. The violence was worse. More brutal. Less planned. He was falling apart. And just days later, he kidnapped and killed a 12-year-old girl named Kimberly Leach. That murder would seal his fate. In February 1978, a police officer noticed a suspicious car. Inside was a man using a fake ID. He fought the officer, but he was caught. His name? Ted Bundy. He was back behind bars. And this time, he would never leave again. Ted Bundy's trial was like a circus. He represented himself. He smiled at the camera. Women came to watch him in court, some even said they loved him. Yes, loved him. But behind all the charm was a monster. The evidence was clear. Teeth marks. Blood. Witnesses. And his own words. In 1979, he was found guilty of murder. He got the death penalty. But he didn't stop talking. For years, he gave interviews. He confessed to 30 murders. But many believe the number was closer to 100. On January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy was strapped to the electric chair. Outside the prison, people cheered. They held signs that said, "Burn, Bundy, burn." At 7:16 a.m., he was executed. Just like that. The nightmare ended. Number 2. Andrei Chikatilo was born in 1936, in a small village in Ukraine. It was during a time called the Holodomor, a terrible famine that killed millions. People were starving. Children were dying in the streets. And some, it was said, even ate human flesh to survive. Andrei's family was very poor. They lived in a tiny hut with no food and no comfort. His father went to war and was captured. The neighbors called him a traitor. Andrei grew up with shame, fear, and anger. He was quiet, shy, weak, and he wet the bed every night until he was a teenager. Kids laughed at him. Teachers ignored him. And his heart grew colder every year. As a young man, Andrei had a terrible secret. He couldn't perform sexually. He tried to be with women. But it never worked. They laughed at him. Rejected him. It made him feel small. Useless. Broken. He hated himself. But more than that, he began to hate women. He kept all that pain inside. And one day, he let it out in the worst way possible. In the 1970s, Chikatilo became a teacher. He was quiet, polite, and married with 2 kids. To the world, he looked normal. But in his head, something was very wrong. Students said he would stare at them for hours. He would touch them. Whisper strange things. Some said he even touched himself in class. He was fired from school after school. But no one called the police. They were too afraid. Too ashamed. So Chikatilo stayed free. And his dark thoughts grew stronger. In 1978, Chikatilo walked into a bus station in a town called Shakti. There, he met a 9-year-old girl named Lena Zakatnova. He offered to show her a shortcut home. But he took her to an abandoned house. There, he stabbed her, bit her, and watched her die. He said later that this was the first time he ever felt power. Her body was found in a river. A man nearby was arrested and executed for her murder. But the real killer, Andrei Chikatilo, was still out there. And he had just begun. Over the next 12 years, Chikatilo murdered at least 52 people. Most were children. Some were teen girls. A few were young boys. He would wait at bus stations and train stops. He looked for runaways or kids who were alone. He used candy, toys, or kindness to lure them away. Then he took them into the woods. There he would stab them over and over, bite off body parts, and even eat pieces of them. He got sexual pleasure from the violence. It was the only way he could feel powerful. After the murder, he cleaned himself up, went home to his wife, and acted like nothing happened. The Soviet police were lost. They didn't believe in serial killers. They called that an American sickness. So they looked for easy answers. They arrested innocent men. Some were forced to confess. At least one man was even executed for a crime Chikatilo committed. Meanwhile, the real killer kept going. He murdered at least 4 victims in 1 month in 1984 alone. People were terrified. But no one knew who to trust. And still, Chikatilo walked free. In 1984, police found a semen stain on one of the victims. They tested it. The blood type was AB. Police started testing men in the area. Chikatilo was brought in. But his blood type was A. So, they let him go. What they didn't know was this. His blood type and semen type were different, a rare condition called a secreta mismatch. It fooled the test. And the real killer slipped away again. By 1990, the KGB was involved. They put secret agents in train stations. They studied the killer's patterns. Then one day, a detective noticed a strange man talking to a girl. The man followed the girl, but walked away when he saw police. That man was Andrei Chikatilo. Police followed him. When they arrested him, he had a bag of knives, rope, and Vaseline. Still, he denied everything. For 2 weeks, he said nothing. Then, finally, he broke. And what he said was chilling. Chikatilo confessed to 36 murders at first. Then 17 more. He described them all in detail. Where it happened. What he used. How the victims cried. He showed no emotion. No regret. He smiled when he talked about the killings. He said it made him feel complete. When asked why he did it, he said, "I was like a mad wolf. I couldn't stop." In 1992, Chikatilo went to trial. It was held in a big courtroom in Rostov. People called it the trial of the century in Russia. They put him in a metal cage during the trial, like an animal. He screamed. He sang. He exposed himself. His defense? He said he was insane. But the court didn't believe it. Families of the victims shouted at him. Some cried. Some begged to kill him with their own hands. After 3 months, the judge spoke. "You are sane. You are guilty. You will die." In 1994, Chikatilo was taken to a prison cell. He was shot in the back of the head. Just like that. The nightmare ended. But the pain? It never went away. Number 3. Harold Shipman was born in 1946 in Nottingham, England. His family was poor, but strict. His mother loved him very much, but she also controlled everything he did. She told Harold he was special. Better than others. Smarter. Stronger. Harold worked hard in school. He was quiet. Serious. And very, very smart. But everything changed when his mother got sick. She had cancer. Harold was just 17. He sat by her side every day as she got worse. Back then, doctors gave cancer patients a strong drug called morphine to take away the pain. Harold watched as the morphine put her to sleep. Until one day, she didn't wake up. That moment stayed with him forever. Harold Shipman became a doctor. He studied medicine in Leeds and became a general practitioner, a GP. People loved him. He was smart, kind, and easy to talk to. He always made time for the elderly. He seemed like the perfect doctor. But deep inside, Harold had a secret desire. He wanted control. Control over life. Control over death. And soon, he would use a doctor's tools to play God. It started slow. A patient here. An old woman there. He would visit them at home. Check their blood pressure. And then, inject them with a lethal dose of morphine. Morphine. Just like the drug that ended his mother's life. Then, calmly, he'd sign the death certificate. He'd write something like, heart failure or old age. No one questioned him. Why would they? He was their doctor. But patients kept dying. Always during visits with Shipman. Always after injections. And always with no warning. By the late 1980s, people started whispering. Isn't it strange how many of his patients die? Why are there so many funerals? Other doctors noticed, too. But nothing was done. No one wanted to believe a doctor could be a murderer. And Shipman? He kept going. He smiled at families. Attended funerals. Even sent flowers. It wasn't just murder. It was cold. Planned. Cruel. In 1998, everything changed. A woman named Kathleen Grundy, 81 years old, died suddenly. She was healthy, active, and full of life. Her daughter, Angela, was confused. Her mother had just had a checkup with Dr. Shipman. Then, she was gone. But there was something else. Angela found a new will, one her mother supposedly wrote before she died. It said that all of her money should go to Dr. Harold Shipman. Nothing for her family. Angela was shocked. She knew her mother would never do that. She went to the police. And just like that, the secret world of Harold Shipman began to fall apart. Police dug deeper. They looked at other deaths, hundreds of them. They found a pattern. The patient saw Shipman that day. He gave them a shot. They died quietly. He signed the death certificate himself. No autopsy. Quick cremation. It was perfect. Too perfect. The police ordered an exhumation of Kathleen Grundy's body. They tested her tissues. The result? She had been poisoned with morphine. Police arrested Shipman in September 1998. They searched his home. They found a typewriter used to forge wills, fake patient records, a list of names, his medical bag still full of morphine, and something even more chilling. He had logs, lists of patients he had killed, as if he was keeping a scorecard. When police checked records, they found more than 200 suspicious deaths, all linked to Shipman. Some experts believe the real number is closer to 400. That would make Harold Shipman the deadliest serial killer in modern history. In January 2000, Harold Shipman went on trial. The courtroom was packed. Family after family came forward. They told stories of loved ones, mothers, fathers, grandmothers, dying suddenly after visits with Shipman. Some cried. Some screamed. Many couldn't believe it. The evidence was strong. The morphine. The forged documents. The false records. And the lies. After 6 weeks, the jury gave their decision. Guilty. Shipman was sentenced to life in prison, with no chance of release. But justice didn't feel complete. Not yet. People asked, why would a doctor kill his own patients? The answer? We may never know. Some say Shipman was trying to feel powerful. That each death gave him a sense of control. He decided who lived and who died. Others believe it was a twisted obsession with his mother's death. That he wanted to recreate that moment. over and over again. But Shipman never confessed. He never said sorry. He showed no emotion. To the very end. He believed he did nothing wrong. In 2004, Harold Shipman was found dead in his prison cell. He had hanged himself with bedsheets. No note. No message. Just silence. Some called it justice. Others said it was a coward's way out. But for the families of hundreds of victims, there was no peace. Only questions. Number 4. Pedro Alonso López. Pedro Alonso López was born in 1948 in Colombia. His life began in pain. He was one of 13 children. His father was killed before he was born. His mother was a sex worker, rough, angry, and poor. Pedro grew up in a small, dirty home. There was never enough food. Never enough love. He was beaten. He watched men come and go. He saw things no child should ever see. At just 8 years old, Pedro was thrown out of the house. His mother caught him touching his little sister in a wrong way. She screamed at him, hit him, and then kicked him out forever. Pedro was just a boy. Alone. On the streets. With no family. No safety. No hope. And that's where the darkness began. The streets of Bogotá were dangerous. Especially for a small, scared boy. Pedro tried to beg. He tried to sleep in alleys. But one night, a man offered him food. Pedro followed. He was hungry. Cold. But it was a trap. That man raped him. Pedro cried. He screamed. But no one came. After that, Pedro said something inside him broke. He joined a gang of street kids. They robbed. They fought. They sniffed glue to forget the pain. But Pedro never forgot what happened to him. And one day, he would do the same. To others. When Pedro was 18, he stole a car. Police caught him. He was sent to prison. Inside that prison, things got worse. Pedro was raped again. This time, by 4 men. He was filled with hate. With rage. With revenge. One by one, Pedro killed all 4 attackers. He used a knife. He waited until they were alone. Then he stabbed them to death. No one stopped him. When Pedro was finally released from prison, he was no longer just angry. He was a predator. And now, he was free. Pedro left Colombia. He walked south into Peru. He didn't go to cities. He went to small villages, mountains, and markets. And he started to hunt. But not animals. Not adults. Children. Little girls between 8 and 12. Girls who were poor. Girls who walked alone. He offered them candy. He told them lies. He seemed nice. But he was planning to kill. He took them to quiet places. To fields. To rivers. To the forest. There, he raped them, strangled them, and buried them. Sometimes, he even went back to the graves. To sit. To think. To remember. Pedro didn't just kill. He enjoyed it. He told police later, "I liked killing at sunrise. I liked watching their eyes as they died." He kept their names in his head. He said they were his little angels. He believed he was doing good. He said, "I was saving them from the streets. They would have grown up to be whores, like my mother." He didn't cry. He didn't feel sorry. He smiled. He was calm. He was sure. He thought he was the hero. How did he kill so many and get away? Because the girls he chose were poor. From small towns. From families with no power. When they vanished, police said, She ran away. Maybe she went to another village. She's probably fine. But she wasn't. She was already dead. Pedro knew this. That's why he picked them. He said, "I chose girls no one would miss." For years, he killed and walked free. No one stopped him. Not because he was smart, but because no one cared enough to look. In 1980, rain hit the mountains of Ambato, Ecuador. The ground became soft. Mud slid down hills. And then, something was found. 3 bodies. Lined up. Small. Rotting. Children. Police were shocked. Something was wrong. This wasn't an accident. This was planned. More girls had gone missing. All from the same area. All around the same age. Police watched the market. The bus stops. The schools. And one day, they saw a man talking to a little girl. He tried to lead her away. That man was Pedro López. Police arrested Pedro. At first, he said nothing. But then they told him. "We found 3 bodies." Pedro smiled. He laughed. He said, "That's nothing. I can show you many more." And he did. He took police into the mountains. He showed them grave after grave. He remembered each spot. Each girl. He confessed to killing. Over 110 girls in Ecuador. More than 100 in Colombia. And many more in Peru. The number? Over 300. And he remembered every single one. In 1981, Pedro López went to trial. He was found guilty of 110 murders. But here's the shocking part. The maximum sentence in Ecuador at that time was only 16 years. Yes. 16 years for killing hundreds of girls. Pedro served 14 years. Then he was let out. Yes. Released. Free. He smiled as he walked out. He said he would be good now. He promised. But no one believed him. After prison, Pedro was sent to Colombia. There, he spent time in a mental hospital. Doctors said he was sane. They let him go. Again. In 1998, Pedro López walked out of the hospital. He vanished. Some say he changed his name. Some say he left the country. Others believe he started killing again. Today, he is still on Interpol's most wanted list. But no one knows where he is. The man who confessed to 300 murders was never punished. Number 5. Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez was born in 1960 in El Paso, Texas. His family was poor. His father was angry. And home was filled with violence and shouting. Richard was quiet. He had dark eyes. He liked scary things. By age 10, he started sleeping in cemeteries. By 12, he began using drugs. But the real change came when Richard met his cousin Miguel. Miguel had just come back from the Vietnam War. He was a soldier. But he was also twisted. He showed Richard pictures, terrible pictures, of people he had killed. He told stories about hurting women. And Richard listened with wide eyes. One day, Miguel had a fight with his wife. Right in front of 13-year-old Richard. He shot her in the face. Blood splattered everywhere. She dropped dead. And Richard saw it all. That moment? It changed him forever. After that, Richard started doing worse things. He broke into homes. He stole. He watched horror movies all night. He read books about Satan. He wasn't just curious about the devil. He worshipped him. He began wearing all black. He painted pentagrams. He said prayers to darkness. By the time he moved to Los Angeles in 1984, Richard Ramirez wasn't just a thief anymore. He was ready to kill. The first murder happened on June 28, 1984. Richard broke into a woman's home. He beat her. He stabbed her. And then he left. But he didn't stop. Soon, it became a pattern. Break into homes at night. Use a gun, knife, or hammer. Kill the husband. Rape the wife. Steal things. Draw satanic symbols. He left messages on the walls. Hail Satan. The newspapers gave him a name. The Night Stalker. And he loved it. The people of Los Angeles were terrified. No one felt safe. He didn't have a pattern. He didn't pick a type. He killed men, women, grandparents, teenagers, even children. He used guns, knives, cords, tire irons. Sometimes he raped the women before killing them. Sometimes he let them live, just to watch them suffer. People started locking every door. They boarded up windows. Some even slept with weapons under their pillows. But the Night Stalker was always one step ahead. One night, Richard entered the home of an older couple. He shot the husband in the head. Then he raped the wife, beat her, and carved a pentagram into her leg. He told her, "Swear to Satan." In another case, he kidnapped a young girl. He took her to an abandoned house. He assaulted her, then let her go. When asked why, he said, "Satan told me to." He believed he was doing the devil's work. He was proud. And he didn't want to stop. Police were desperate. They had no fingerprints. No clear pattern. And the city was panicking. But then, one clue changed everything. Richard had stolen a car. Police found it, and inside, they discovered a fingerprint. They ran it through the system. It matched Richard Ramirez. They finally had a name. And they put his photo on every news channel and newspaper. The face of the Night Stalker was now known. Richard didn't know his photo was everywhere. On August 31, 1985, he walked into a store in East LA. A group of women recognized him. They started shouting, "That's him! El Matador! The killer!" Richard ran. He jumped fences. He tried to steal a car. But a group of men chased him down. They beat him with sticks and pipes. They held him until police arrived. The Night Stalker's reign of terror was over. Richard Ramirez's trial began in 1989. It was one of the longest and most expensive trials in California history. In court, he laughed. He flashed satanic symbols with his hands. He wore all black. And when he was found guilty of 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, and 11 sexual assaults, he said, "Big deal. Death always went with the territory. See you in Disneyland." He showed no emotion. No regret. He was sentenced to death. Richard Ramirez was sent to San Quentin State Prison. He waited there for over 20 years. Fans sent him letters. Some women even tried to marry him. And in 2013, before he could be executed, he died. Not from a bullet. Not from poison. He died from cancer. Just like that. The Night Stalker was gone. But his shadow still lingers in every open window, every unlocked door. You would want to subscribe to Unbelievable True Story before moving on to the next interesting video in our playlist.